Well, good morning, folks. This is Susan. I would like to talk a little bit about public schools, um, disabilities, and special needs, our charter schools, and accommodations in not just the schools but in the workplace. Um, First of all, when my son Alexander was attending public school for the first time, he was doing great in kindergarten. He was placed with a seasoned teacher, and by seasoned, I mean she was a teacher that had been teaching for many years, I believe like 20 something years. She was mature, she was old school. You could not tell her how to bend her program. You could not entice her into lying, cheating, or bending the truth. So, whenever we would meet at the parent teacher meetings, which were, the regular scheduled meetings, maybe 2 or 3 times, she always spoke highly of Alexander. She said Alexander is a joy to teach. Alexander was advanced in reading and, just bright child, overall bright child, and straight A student. Whenever she would give feedback on his behavior, which was once a week, um, it was at first it was kind of like Alexander's a little bit too social, but we're working on that. We're working on that, and because she was a loving, caring, seasoned teacher, she wasn't ticket happy. She would, talk to Alexander and talk to the other children that were buddies. And so, she did the usual thing, like she would separate the kids that were a little bit too clingy, and that kind of worked out because Alexander's a very social child. So that's how she handled that, Miss Manhattan. And I appreciate that because you don't want, as a parent, to constantly hear a teacher complaining about your child, like the first grade teacher. So when Alexander started first grade, I noticed immediately that he was separated from the group of kids that he had attended kindergarten with. He was separated, and most of the kids that were in kindergarten together were still together. They went on to first grade. So I do believe that it has to do with knowing the principal, knowing the administrators, and getting your child with the right teacher and with the right group of kids. I do believe this, and I do believe that they exclude certain kids. I do believe it. When Alexander started first grade, within the week I was noticing a big difference. Now, this teacher was a new teacher, and I don't have a problem with new teachers. I think that, just like when I was an airman, a fresh airman in the Air Force, I was learning how to draw blood. And I was, with a phlebotomist and for 3-day clinical as part of my clinical training. I remember I was drawing blood just fine, and then there was this young man, 14-year-old boy, who as soon as he saw my tag that said student, he screamed at the top of his lungs as I was inserting the needle. So I stopped. He said, "She's a student. I don't want her to draw my blood. No, no." And he was such an intelligent young man. He did not want to be practiced on. 14 years old kid. He's like, "Nope, I don't want this lady that she's learning. I don't want it." Is it fair? It doesn't matter. The bottom line is he had every right. And I know that with our teachers, they have to be new. They have to learn the ropes. But it is not fair for teachers to be trained that writing tickets, picking on specific children. All of these things are happening in public school. Not just to my son alone before he was taken by DHR, but this is something that whenever I would go to the store, to Walmart or to other stores, I would have a conversation with other parents whose children were about the same age as my son. And they would say things like, oh, my child was fine up until this year. Or my child was doing fine and then he or she got picked on in second grade or first grade. So it is something that is happening. And it's not just like my being a difficult parent, because I got along with everybody in the school, from the librarian to the secretaries to the teacher from the previous year. I got along with everybody except for this one teacher. But come to find out, these are things that are coming from higher up. So going back to Alexander. Alexander was advanced in reading, writing, and so when he started first grade, within the first week, I noticed the being picked on. I noticed that, for example, here in the South, I don't know if it's a national thing, but we have something called the AR. You have to keep up with your reading. The children have to get a book from the library, I believe once every 2 weeks or so, or once every week, and then they have so much time to read it and to take a test. While he was in kindergarten, he never had an issue. The teacher provided him an AR sheet where she would document she would let Alexander write himself the book, and then she would write the score. And of course, this is also kept in a computer system. But the teacher wanted the parent to see it and the child to see it to kind of keep up with what's what. The kindergarten teacher also never failed to put the weekly packet in his folder. So we knew what homework was assigned. Well, during first grade, and I have it all documented. I have the emails to prove it. Okay, my child was taken, and it was in a working process. This is not something that happened overnight. These people had people who take kids away from parents. Our government, they already had their eye on my son. They have their eye on you, whether you're in the restroom, in the privacy of your restroom, or your thoughts at night while you sleep. Okay? We know that the technology is there. What are we doing with this technology? Why are we spending so much money on this intelligence? What are we doing? How is it benefiting the people? And how is this for national security? When we have so many disabled veterans. How are we using the money? How is this for the benefit of our nation? For national security? This is the biggest scam. Thank God for God, and thank God for His most mercy on us. He has promised to transform our hearts of stone, and He has promised to make everything new. So for those of you who think that you are above the rest of us, that you can create life, you don't create life. God creates life. And God creates new life. We are birthing a new nation. We are birthing a new humanity as we speak. But the prophets and the apostles shouldn't be laboring alone. It is time for you to be held accountable for what you do and leave undone for our children. Because it is easy for you to do or leave undone because you don't have to inherit the mess. So let us labor with the apostles. Let us labor with the prophets and birth this new humanity, because God whips with the rod of correction because He loves us, to straighten us. I have always desired to be straight. It is the desire of your heart. So if it's the desire of my heart to be straight, let us understand that we all have disabilities and abilities and differences. And it is our disabilities and our weaknesses which make us who we are, special. It is my strength to have a disability. It is my strength to be unique and different. For that is your strength. Don't you know that? If we were all the same, then we would all be a giant eye, or a giant foot, or a giant toe. But we are the different parts of the body. Some of us are the eyes, some of us are the mouth, some of us are the hand, some of us are the feet. And I mean not literally. Okay? This is all a figure of speech. Because God speaks to humanity, and the message that was from 2,000 years ago is still fresh today. Because the people are just as stubborn and self-righteous. They think that they don't need God, that they're above God, that their intelligence comes from them, and that they are to create artificial whatever it is that they want. I don't have a problem with artificial if it is to complement. I color my own hair with a natural hair color. It comes from natural pigments. Has no ammonia. I don't get my nails done because that is my right. I don't have breast implants, even though my breasts aren't perky, because this is my right. My right. I don't get my pedicure done professionally. I pick up my own toes when I'm angry. Unlike you. You pick on somebody else's toes when you're angry. If we were to have these scientists and psychologists and pharma people experiment on themselves instead of our children and our soldiers and our poor and prisoners, if they were to experiment on themselves before it gets approved by our government with a safety label that it is safe for the rest of us, we would not have all of these wild experimentation and medication and all kinds of dysfunctionalities that is affecting our human growth and development as a humanity. A humanity is the whole body. The body body of students, the body of people, the body of humanity. We have to labor to birth. Don't just sit back and let the apostles and let the messengers do the work. Because this time around, the messengers are not going to be beheaded. We're going to go from B to A, and we're going to go from beheaded to a head. A head. A head. A head from the inside. We have been lifted up, up, up. We went into Gamma. We went up and to the right, into his heart. From the inside, it is Dalit. These are keys, okay? And here, we are being transformed because we went into him and he into us simultaneously. If a physicist can explain to you how the Klein bottle works and you believe the physicist, why can't you believe me what I am telling you, which is the truth that I have seen? Oh, because I don't have a degree. Well, you can kiss my fart! And as far as I'm concerned, fart is not an inappropriate word. We all do it! We are always the smaller circle. What looks like far away, it's smaller because it is so far away. We were so far from God. So far from God, so self-righteous. And God has promised to return to his temple, which is the body of people, the body of students. We are his pupils, students, his pupils, learning directly from him. What looks like far away, it's really small because it's so far away. Like a star. It looks like a tiny little dot in the sky. But it is huge. It is the all-encompassing. So, we were lifted. We were lifted by his most mercy on us, his children. Because we did not make ourselves. Life originated in water. And this birth that we're laboring right now, it's going to come from the fire. The spirit of fire, the spirit of truth. Life originated in water in the beginning. The Spirit hovered over the face of the waters. Their water is our water. It's all the same. Waters equals water. We are all mostly water. Our planet is mostly water. In the beginning, and he separated the light from the darkness. Well, we are being created new. We are children of the light, of the glory of the fire. That's what light means. The light comes from the natural light. Natural comes from a star. He separated the light, but he created the light. He said, "Let there be light." Can you create light? We can create artificial light, we can create fire, but who made the elements? Who made the elements? Where do we come from? You have been fighting for years. Oh, but God made us in the image of himself, and there was never that evolution. It doesn't exist. The dinosaurs, I don't know. Let me tell you, folks, it is all true. He is the all-encompassing sum of everything. We were lifted. He doesn't want us wasting our time fighting about who is right. He just wants us to get it done. Labor already. Okay? Because it is not just up to the prophets. Because the prophets have been here, done that. All of them. They came and lived on this earth, were beheaded, incarcerated, killed, crucified, all for the name of God. We're still doing that today. Let us not argue and fight and go to war and crucify people, blacklist them because they're sending a message. We have to labor because we're part of the body. We cannot just sit back. God has lifted us up to his glory. I have seen my Father's eyes and mouth scintillating. And then we stood there with you in my hands. We stood there, standing in front of the Father before the Father. In the fire that does not burn. It was warm and welcoming, and he said, finally you are here. But it was a much more loving, warm, welcoming, sweet welcome. Finally, it took you all this time. Because since I was a child, I desired God. Since I was a child, I knew that even though the adults around me, my mother said, I think people believe in God just in case. So that when they die, just in case there is a God. I thought to myself, no. God is. God is! And I woke up one day and I wanted my Father to show me a sign. To show me, and I don't care if you laugh at me, if you call me a nerd or a crazy woman. I don't care about your opinion. You can care whatever you will. You can say whatever you will because that is your God-given right to say I'm crazy. That is your God-given right to say that I am a phony. Your God-given right, just like it is my God-given right to tell to you and to declare, and I will until it gets done. Because I used to work labor and delivery, and I used to tell the patient, take a deep breath, okay? Inhale. And now you have to push, okay? But just wait. Okay, there's a contraction now. Push. And why am I not a nurse in labor and delivery? Because that was not my calling. My calling was my Father calling me. Return to me, my daughter. And he said, finally you are here. And we stood in front of the Father for a long time. But it was a few in this lifetime. It took us a long time because of our inertia, our stubbornness to change. It was really thick and dense as we were lifted. It took a long, long time and much effort. Even though the Father was pulling us up as fast as He could, it was still thick and dense. It took a long time. It took much effort, even though He was pulling us up as fast as He could. And as we began to approach the fire, the light, we started traveling faster and smoother. And it caught momentum. And then we were there. I was not afraid because I knew where we were going. I knew we were safe. And when He opened up the portal that is brighter than the fire that is He, it's not fire and it's not inferno. This was a brighter light, brighter than any light I have ever seen, that it was so hard for me to describe it on the computer. I was trying to find, it is a brightness that is brighter than anything I've ever seen or can describe. And it was bright and safe. And I didn't feel any gravity once we entered into this light. It's like we were being suspended. What looks like the smaller circle is really the larger circle. It just looks smaller because it is so far away. But as we began to travel, we went into Him and He went into us simultaneously. This happened simultaneously. So for those of you who study about geometry and who know about the faces and the edge, Jesus is the cornerstone. We are going to see the Father face to face. We will know the Father because He will be in us. We have to labor as a humanity. We are birthing a new humanity. We are being born and birthing simultaneously. But we have to make an effort. Just like the Father made an effort. The Father made an effort because He said in the beginning, let there be light. And then He separated the light. And then He promised to bring that light back. Read your books. He promised to bring the light back to live with us forever and ever.